Have you ever made a plan and then a little ways in you thought, I think I need to change my plan? Pretty common feeling. And as bloggers, it's extremely common, I think mostly because the results of the work that we do don't come immediately. Well, I started a new project at the beginning of the year, 3 months ago, to achieve a full-time income from a brand new blog project in just 1 year. It's actually a pretty audacious goal, and I picked about the worst time to do it, when everybody's saying that they think blogging is dying. There have been Google algorithm updates like crazy. Their AI is now just like running rampant, and people are putting hundreds of articles a month on their new websites. And that's not how I'm planning to go about this or how I'm doing it. So right now, I'm in a position where I'm a little bit fearful. So I can empathize with those feelings that sometimes maybe you just need a change of plan. That's what we're gonna talk about today in this video. How to know when it's actually time to pivot your strategy a little bit, and then how to go about doing that. If you're not familiar at all with Project Double Time, I have a video, I'll link to it right up here. You can go watch that and it'll walk you through the entire plan that I set out for how I was going to achieve a full-time income from a brand new blog within just 1 year. I'm 3 months in, and at this point I planned to have 170 blog posts published or at least being written on the website. And I planned to basically do nothing else in these first 3 months. Well, here's where I'm at today when it comes to content on the site. I have 30 published blog posts. I have 15 more that are written and pretty much ready to publish. They just need some final touches. I have 31 more that are either being written right now or ready to write, which means I have 76 currently in progress. That's not quite the 170 I had planned. So I want to talk briefly about some of the things that are holding me back. Now, if you're working on a blog or thinking about working on a blog, these are things that you might be able to relate to. The first one is one of the most common among bloggers, and that's perfectionism. Perfect is the enemy of good, probably the enemy of a lot of things. And that's because when we're seeking perfect, we're actually setting a goal for ourselves that's like impossible to attain. The vision I have for every single article on this website is for it to be an amazing resource. In a recent mastermind that I had with members of Project 24, one of the members brought up the question, and he asked, is it better to write and create the best resource for every article? Or what if in the same amount of time, I could write 5 articles that are about 80% of the way there? And it only took me about a second to give him the answer that I know is the best one. Go write the articles. There's a couple reasons for that. The first one is that the more content that we have on the website, the better we're gonna be able to build out the topic clusters and build real topical authority on the website. The other reason is that the more content we have out there, the better data that we're gonna get back pretty soon from Google Search Console and from Google Analytics. We're gonna know better what topics work really well for us and where we're gonna be able to get the most traffic going forward. You just need more content. We don't need bad content, and the way he positioned this was articles that are 80% of the way there. The 80-20 rule is the Pareto Principle. Basically, 80% of the work is done by 20% of people. That's where the rule comes from. But 80% of the work is usually done in also about 20% of the time. It's the last 20% that often takes the most work. When it comes to blogging, I often find that I can get my articles 90% of the way there. Sometimes in more like 10% of the time it's gonna take to get it 100% of the way. And that's because perfectionism is an impossible goal to achieve. And yet, I'm finding myself spending way too long on a lot of these blog posts. The second thing that's holding me back a little bit is another one that a lot of you are probably facing, and that is industry concerns. Google algorithm updates, AI, all that stuff, right? But those aren't things that have me afraid that it's gonna fail. Those are things that have me rethinking my plan. Is this plan exactly what needs to happen and in the right order to be able to achieve this goal in such a short time period? And I think that there were some adjustments I needed to make. Based on those concerns, I've made some decisions to do things in a little bit different order. One of the things I've been doing is building out a lot of those EEAT factors on the website from the very beginning. So I already have a lot of those things that Kyle Roof talked about. I'm doing organization schema. I'm building it out to make it look like a legitimate business, because frankly it is, even from the very beginning. Another thing that I'm doing is something that I know works so incredibly well that I'm willing to give it a little bit more of an emphasis even from the very beginning, and even if it slows me down. And that is, I'm doing a lot of real testing. I've picked up a lot of products, many of which are very, very inexpensive, by the way, so that I can actually test them. These are products that I see peddled and talked about in the industry all the time, and everyone sort of just has their opinion about which one to get, but it's not backed by basically any testing, not even user testing. And so I wanted to change that. Another thing that I'm doing is I am putting a focus on video content much earlier on. With the product testing, yes, I can talk about those things in a blog post, but at the same time that I'm doing the testing for the blog post, I can just film it. And then I can put together a video after the fact, do some voiceover and stuff, and make a really good, compelling video showing the testing and talking about the results in a really cool, captivating way that's going to attract actual traffic from the video side, as well as send people over to the blog where they can get some additional content and additional information about those products. It's a beautiful system that we know works incredibly well. We've done it multiple times here, but in doing all of that, there's still that sort of, it has to be perfect feeling that I have. I'm not normally quite this much of a perfectionist, but just because it's so public, because of you guys, I feel like this all just has to be right. And frankly, any article that's written in my name, I feel like it has to be something that's of a quality that I am comfortable with, which is why I feel like such a perfectionist. So I have done some things to help me with my perfectionism. I've set some rules for myself. There are things that I know I want to work on the site, videos I want to make, products I want to test, and I just set a rule. I don't get to do that until I publish X number of blog posts this week. And because of that, I can time block time, set it aside to work on these blog posts and actually get them published on the website. Like I said, I still have 15 blog posts that are written that I haven't published yet because they still need what? Some finishing touches? They really do. But I have to force myself to time block some time and actually do them. So what all this means for this project is that I'm not where I wanted to be on content. I'm ahead of where I wanted to be on basically everything else. And I need to just slightly change, adjust my plan going forward. So now we need to talk just a little bit about pivoting. A pivot is just an adjustment in direction, right? A change from where we are right now moving forward. Forget about what we've done so far. That impacts how we pivot, but it's not something that we dwell on. There are a few important guidelines I want you to keep in mind if you're considering a pivot. The first one is if you're not completely sure you need to pivot, don't yet. You have to give whatever plan you're following a chance to succeed before you pivot. Unless the results you're achieving at this point fall well outside sort of the expected range for the plan that you're following, it's probably still time to just stay the course and give that plan enough of a chance to actually work for you. Changing direction far too often actually slows you down. It's very easy to see this if you're actually walking and you walk a little ways and then pivot and walk that direction and pivot and walk that direction. You're gonna add a whole lot of extra walking to get to the same result versus if you were to walk there in a straight line. The only issue is that we can't always walk in a perfectly straight line because we don't always know exactly the path to get where we're going. So we need to minimize the number of pivots. That leads to the next principle of pivoting, and that is to not pivot too harshly. Unless you know you're going in the complete wrong direction, you're better off making small adjustments to the plan. Notice that in my current plan, all I've done is slightly rearrange the tasks. I know what things need to be done to be able to achieve a full-time income from blogging. We've done it so many times here, and we've helped literally thousands of other people do the same thing following the same plan. The only difference here is that I created a plan to do it in half the time, where I condensed a ton of things. And I've just noticed early on that there were just some things that were a little bit out of order, and so I've just adjusted by switching the order on some of those things. I've also fallen behind even that pivoted plan, and so where I am today, my plan from here needs to be a plan for how to move forward, not a plan where I keep getting on my own case for not accomplishing enough in the first 3 months. You need to do the same thing. Don't harp on yourself for what you haven't accomplished yet. Make whatever little pivots you need to make and then move forward. One of the biggest mistakes I see bloggers make all the time is they start. They actually do a bunch of work. They put a lot of effort in before they've ever even written a blog post, and then maybe they write their first few blog posts, and then they stop and they say, I don't think this is the right niche. You've just spent like 3 months getting everything ready. You've set up a website, you bought a domain name, you did a bunch of search analysis, you wrote a few blog posts, and now you're saying, I don't know if this is the right niche. I want to use this example briefly to go through these same principles. How do you know if you need to make such a big pivot, like completely changing your niche? Well, if the current niche that you're in is absolutely not going to take you in the direction where you want to go, meaning there's no way it's going to make any money, or it's going to actually harm your personal life versus helping it, then okay, yeah, makes sense. But if that's not the case, I want you to stop and think really hard. Why do you think you need to change your niche? Is it just because you realized, oh, this isn't going to be that easy? Because that's going to be true no matter what niche you end up with. Is it because you're a little bit concerned because there might be a little bit of seasonality, or some of these topics are a little more competitive than I thought they were going to be? If it's those kinds of things, just take a breather, because chances are the further you get into this process of writing content, the more opportunities you're going to find for writing articles where there is basically no competition. I find it in every single niche I get into. The further in that I go, the more content that I write, the more I find that there's just opportunity galore on the internet still, even now. I still have a lot of confidence in this project. I'm excited to keep you up to date on what's going on with Project Double Time. I'm confident because I'm confident in the plan. I've made the adjustments that I need to make, and I'm making adjustments going forward to ensure that I get enough content written and published on this website with enough time to be able to achieve the results that I need to achieve. My first results-based milestone is still 3 months out, and I'm hopeful that I'll still be able to achieve that. We'll see. I'll keep you up to date in our future videos here on Income School. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, but you're interested in building a content business, absolutely subscribe, because that's what we're all about here. We teach you how to create amazing content and be able to use that to generate an amazing income for yourself and for your family. We hope to see you in the next video.